Hey, Alex Gonzalez, can you do me a favor and take attendance on Naomi? You check that TLA chat for that.
Lights down for the one I love right now. Look better, forget our friends, girl. I love it when we chill together. Ain't nobody gonna feel what we feel together. She wanna kiss, I want another one. You got a sick vibe, I want it one-on-one.
All right, ladies and gents, we are going to go ahead and get started here today. Hopes everyone is having a beautiful Wednesday, middle of the week. We have our second TLA prep coming up this Saturday. We are right now in the full-blown SLC push, and I'm excited to kick things off here on this Wednesday. We got some cool topics today, and I'm really fired up for this weekend. We're going to have a really awesome prep. So good to see all your beautiful faces. This is my favorite time of the week here too. Beautiful smile, Julia. I love it. All right, let's go ahead and get things started here. So couple quick reminders. This is officially our fifth session. Feels like our 20th session, but we're still in the earlier stages here of going through some things. So this is our fifth weekly TLA session, and then just a couple reminders. This is some of this is already due. So we've already kind of covered the first few things. As you know, there was the assignment what was due today at, someone's got to mute themselves. There's an assignment that was due today that was to get the Jim Rohn journaling audio in. So a lot of you all sent that to me on email, which is fine. But also there's a Google form, which I'd like you to fill out. That's the easiest way is for us to track it. So I sent two Google forms. There's one that will be due for this upcoming Saturday for your book report on the 1 Minute Manager. And this one was just for the Jim Rohn journaling audio. So if you did it and you didn't fill out that form, make sure you fill that out ASAP because we'll be checking on that and adding that to our assignment spreadsheet here just soon. And then the assignments that are due by this Saturday's TLA prep is to invest into a journal and to finish the debrief of the 1 Minute Manager. Again, if you haven't started that yet, I don't want to know that. But if you haven't started that yet, you can literally get it done before Saturday. It's an hour and a half audio. I've sent the audio into the group chat before. I can re-forward it if anyone needs it, as well as the PDF version. So whichever one you need, you have access to both of those. And keep in mind, if you're someone that's doing this kind of last minute, that might fly for this one because it's a really, really, really short book. And we're going to have some other books that are coming out that I'm going to give assignments to this upcoming TLA prep. And those ones will not be as short. So you'll need to kind of pace yourself accordingly with some of those ones there too. As you guys also know, the Rachel Richards Money Honey course is out officially. So we are going to be going over the first module live together this Saturday at our TLA prep. However, if you would like to get ahead or you want to check out the course, it is out there and released. So you have full access to that as well. You can go at your own speed. Or you can wait till Saturday and we'll preview it all live together here. And our fall cruising contest is also full swings. I have some updated standings here that I will go ahead and forward into the group chat here. So coming to you guys in, let's see here, actually, let me pull this up here real quick. Cool. So you guys can check out the standings right there. And I'm going to go ahead and forward these to you guys as well. So in about 30 seconds, and let's see here, keep saying 3, but it's still not there yet. 3, 2, 1. All right, you guys now have the Florida contest updated standings for fall cruising contest. So again, only takes 8K, and every PR that you get is CPO credit during that time period. So recognizing a couple people, Rachel in Sarasota, you're leading the way right now. And by the way, you got a PR. As soon as they hit $1,000, you'll be at 6K in sales for the contest period, 6,300. Anthony Marino, nice job for leading the way. Victoria Belavosky, Mason Linker, NLG man coming in hot. Sophia, Anise, Isabella, Emmanuel, Zabet, Ethan, Alani, Juliana, and Eric. You can also see Florida Caribbean has the same contest, and they have a little bit more people than us up on there too. So we got to make some moves here and make sure we're showing up and leading the way. So there's only, let's see here, we have up until the October 19th. So there's still 4 or 5 weeks to be able to get this thing in and make some moves here too. So I'm going to skip a little bit ahead of some of this stuff here because I think everyone, if you're on this call, if it's your first time coming to a TLA prep, we want to welcome you all. This is the Leadership Academy. So this is where we really develop our future management candidates, our future leaders in the business. And we help teach and educate and coach people on really management skills and how to manage their time, how to manage money, energy, people, and self. So, last TLA prep, one of the key talks that we could give a little bit of preview for Money Honey. We definitely talked about time management. Today we're going to be talking about journaling, which is more so self-management, but I think it falls right into the time management category as well. This Saturday, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which if you're part of the Florida Coast Heat. It's anchor number 2, which is energetic leadership. And we're going to talk about why energy is important, how to use that energy. And really, I think it's everything in literally life and business. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more this weekend. And hopefully that will be helpful for some of you all, as well as continue to send me one-on-one updates of your vector train moments. I'm going to be sharing some of those in opening comments. So at anything that you've learned in TLA over the past month, or you've learned being involved in your staff and you've already seen implications in your life or in your family or in school or even what you're doing at Cutco, and you've had a hashtag vector train moment, then make sure you're sharing those with me because I want to be able to recognize some of you guys this upcoming weekend. And as you all know, we're in the heat of the SLC push. We have our second TLA prep coming up, and then we'll have our third one coming up in October. And if you can believe it, month of September is almost already over. So we are emerging and going to be in October here pretty soon. So friendly reminder, TLA prep, if you're a part of NLG, it is this Friday from 10 a.m. to noon. And then if you are just coming to the regular TLA event, it's going to be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This Saturday. Again, NLG is open to now, if you are in NLG or if you already have a letter of intent and you need to be there at this event. If you don't have one of those two, but you're thinking about submitting a letter of intent, you want to get yourself out there, you want to stand out more as a branch manager candidate, and you're a first year, or if you're just kind of like trying to see some behind the scenes, TLA is a little bit more general. NLG is really focused on specifically how to equip you guys to be kick-ass managers in the future too. So that's extra session. Last time we had a lot of extra guests hop on that, and I'd be excited to see who chooses to hop on this upcoming Friday here. And for those of you guys that have class or school, feel free to reach out to me, and obviously there will probably be a recording of that too. So this is a little sneak peek on the general agenda. We're gonna be first time talking about the SMRA program for the first time, which is gonna be exciting, I think, for a lot of you all. We'll have our Money Honey course. We're gonna talk about interview skills and post-interview, social media proficiency, and we have someone that is quite an expert when it comes to social media and Instagram marketing. He owns his own social media marketing agency, and he's gonna be giving us some goods on how to start building your social media profiles. You got, now until next summer to really start working on that and building your personal brand on social media, which I think is important for Cutco and is also probably going to be important no matter what you want to do in the future here, and definitely can bring you a lot of value. I personally invest a lot of time, money, and energy into social media, so that will be a cool opportunity for some of y'all. We're going to be unveiling some technical skills. So, most of y'all are pretty good at Zoom, but we're going to get you a lot better at Zoom. We're going to be teaching you guys some things like spreadsheets, all sorts of technical skills that in this virtual climate environment are much needed for managers to have some sort of a good technology understanding on certain things. And we'll be talking about some energy management here as well too. I also released for the first time your TLA GPAs yesterday. So there's the rankings are officially out. You can go out and check that document there. And as you guys remember, there's kind of 5 categories for your matrix score. There's your careers. There is your, and actually this is the reverse. So fall campaign sales should be here. This should be here. But career sales, if you're at 20K, 40K, 60K, 80K, and 100K. And by the way, so you need to be at 10K in sales to get into TLA, but I'm not really giving you a point on the manager matrix until you're at 20K in sales. In fact, I always tell people, usually where like the C branch managers at in sales is 30 grand. I've had a lot of successful branches that have been below 30 grand in sales, but I'll tell you what, there's a reason that people have sold a lot of Cutco typically are better managers. You know, there's a reason why our best and highest productivity managers are the ones that have also sold the most Kaka themselves personally. And it helps really in every single regards. You know, you can easily, by the way, impact your matrix score. We're going to talk about this in a second with what you're doing with the SLC push, because when you push and step up when it matters and you're a leader, you're impacting your career sales, you're impacting your fall campaign sales, you're probably impacting startup when withholding, so you're making more money. You are inadvertently affecting your skill set level, and you're also are affecting your intangibles, you know, for the people that are leading and stepping up with the push. So that's one way. These two, you guys haven't really had an opportunity to improve outside of, you know, social media D-Day and a few other things too. So here's the current. If you're 5 or below, I put the top 19 to 20 right there. Anyone that's over 6 or above, but you can check the sheet and get spreadsheets and standings for everybody. And just so you guys know, everyone was at 2 for intangibles to start. So this is something that you can raise, kind of like trust. It's easy, or it takes a long time to build. It's easy to tear down. So this is like trust, respect, it's accountability. When you're on time to meetings, this is every single week. I have a meeting with our district managers. We just had a past meeting this past Tuesday. We ranked every single candidate in the division. And so some of this is the feedback from them. So this just goes back to like, hey, everything is an interview. And like, even though it might not be like your actual score, your job or staff and stuff like that too, being on point with assignments, you know, being on time to things, like those things, managers notice that. I notice it, and that affects the stuff too. So some of you guys, nice. Some of you all have not are already at a 3 just based off of it. If you were already an NLG candidate, I've had experience working with you in the past, and you've already, you know, you're already higher up on the radar. Then you already got a higher score to start. And then pretty much everyone's at a 2 for manager skill set until our first drill for skill, which we have not done yet. So soon we'll be having what we call a drill for skill sessions, which is where there'll be a topic. Hey, PR call. Hey, do the post interview. Hey, do this talk and training, you know, whatever it might be. And we'll quiz every single person on doing that live. Some people will do it from the entire group, and other people will be done one-on-one and grilled or chosen by, or I guess quizzed by their managers here too. Also, you know, startup deadlines. So these are the startup deadlines. Really by October 1st, if you don't have $500 in your account yet, you're behind like really the minimum to kind of be in TLA. And keep in mind too, this is like your branch. If you want to be on a branch manager standings, I always recommend be 2 levels ahead. You know, so really, if you want to be by October 1st, if you really want to be standing out as a branch candidate, you want to be around that $1,500 range. I also want to recognize Nick Dana for submitting another $1,000 to startup. Anthony Marino submitted another $500 to startup. Celestial today just submitted another $1,000 to startup. So really, really great financial moves. It's really exciting to see you all saving extra money and putting more towards that too. And you guys can continue. You can literally just send me a Venmo if you want to put it into startup. Just anytime that you do that, make sure you're number 1, you include your rep number. So I have it, it's easier for me to send. And number 2, just know that if you send it, I have to personally mail out a check every single time that you guys do that to New York. So it will not appear right away. I'm going to do that about every 2 weeks or so, you know, so if you send it at the end of the 2-week period, then it might be 2 weeks before, you know, it shows up in your actual account, but I will get that updated and over. The other thing that you can do is if you actually have a checkbook, you can always just mail the checks yourself to New York, but you know, usually Venmo I think is easier for most people. And a lot of y'all don't have a checkbook. Last thing I just want to remind you guys is the $100 rule, you know? So one of the things it's been really, really exciting to have, I was actually talking to Chloe Corey the other day, and it's exciting because a lot of you all are not in necessarily a place where investing is something that's going to be on your radar until you probably have at least like 10 grand or more saved. But that's one of the values of contributing to startup and continuing to save money is that once you start to get to some of those higher levels, like the conversations start to get fun because we're not talking about just saving money. We get to start talking about how to take your money and make that money work for you. So I had a really great conversation with Chloe and some of our other NLG candidates too that are already making moves, but Chloe's a first year. So exciting to see her saving a lot of money and now looking at things like, hey, how do I invest? How do I make this money work for me? Because if it's just sitting in your bank account, you're actually losing money by inflation every single year. That's worth a little bit less too. So, but by the way, for the record, if you got less than 5 grand, investing is not like the thing to do. You got to fill out the first buckets first, and then you can start to talk about what you can do from there too. Had a lot of great conversations. I've been getting a lot of communications from many people across the division about getting letters of intent in before this Saturday. So I'll be doing a round of recognition this upcoming Saturday for people who have submitted letters of intent in. And here's what I'll tell you guys too, as we continue through TLA, letter of intent, like if you don't have one in yet, you're not behind. So I want to give you some confidence there. It's not something you want to submit just to like say you submitted it or to improve your matrix score if you're not actually like committed to it. But I will tell you is like by the second prep, it is a good indication for like me and some of the other district managers of kind of like, hey, who's more committed than other people, who's like taking it more seriously than others. And I would say by the third prep, it becomes a pretty clear-cut version, so it's not anything to rush into. And if you're at the point where like, hey, you feel confident, you're ready to submit a letter of intent and ready to kind of take that commitment and take that journey and take that step, and maybe you're just a little bit nervous or apprehensive, like that's kind of normal. There might be a 10% reservation there because guess what? You haven't even been fully trained yet. In fact, you have most of y'all 1 month of training so far out of the 9 months of training that is branch manager training. So there's still a lot to learn in the process. 30 more weeks until summer. I love that, Mike chiming in. And but I would say is that if you're at that place, like don't hesitate, reach out to your district manager, help, go look at some other people's letters of intent, and I'll be excited to recognize people. And like, yeah, that's the craziest part is like Mike just mentioned, a lot of y'all have been here for like 10 to 14 weeks total, like including the summer. Think about how much you've grown in like since TLA started. Does anyone feel like they're like already have like changed, developed a lot of habits or like grown personally since the start of TLA, or this is at the beginning of last summer? Okay. Imagine what another couple months could look like. Imagine what another couple years could look like. And I'll even share this with you on that same note. It's funny every once in a while. And by the way, you guys should hear this from me too. I think it's actually important to hear like, hey, everyone at one point or another will leave Kako. It's just the reality. Like 99.9% of people, unless they stay here from the day they're like a student until they retire, which is not most people that we work with. Eventually, you'll leave Kako. It's not like a, forever thing. Some of you guys, this is your journey throughout college. Some of you all are going to be on our district manager track and do this for a couple of years or several more beyond college. Some of you all might be a couple semesters throughout college and maybe, a couple summers. Regardless of that time here, we want to make sure that you guys are getting a truly epic experience. And I think it's funny too, like when people come to me and they're like, well, Andrew, I feel like I've grown so much and I've gotten everything I wanted to get out of it. And it's like, they've been here for like 4 or 5 months. It's like, you've grown so much in 4 or 5 months that you no longer need this. It's like, dude, imagine where you could be like, if you did this for a year or 2 years or 3 years, like you've had that much growth that you're like, I don't even need to grow anymore. I've gotten everything I could possibly want. Like, how about what if you kept at it for a little bit longer and kept that progression, going? So that's always like my challenge to people too, is that, the becoming a master, mastery looks like realizing that you're never truly a master and there's always another level or opportunity for growth and to take it higher. And there always is. So we have a couple of letter intents that have been submitted the past couple of weeks, but I know there's a whole lot more coming. Just make sure if we're gonna be recognizing you, those, get them to me before Friday. If you send them to me like Saturday morning, I will not have them ready and prepared to be recognized in front of the group. And SLC push is in full swing. I'll tell you guys right now, from quick perspective here, is that I am a little bit disappointed in our start to the SLC push. I think typically, when I think about Florida Coast, I think about the first anchor, which is, high performance mindset. And, it's been exciting to see some of you guys that have already started stepping up and making some moves. And within the first day or two of the push, you already had $1,000, $2,000 up on the board. And there's been others in TLA that have yet to do even, 4 or 5 appointments since the push started. And that's a challenge. And by the way, I realize some of you guys are busy with school, but like, this is one of those opportunities where it's like, hey, find a way to make something happen, find a way to push around your schedule. And that's what the push is all about. It's about expanding your capacity, so for SC2, expanding your capacity might have looked like grinding your teeth into the pavement and seeing just like what you were capable of if you gave 100% of your energy. Expanding your capacity right now might be like, hey, passing all my classes, getting good grades on my tests, and still being able to do some demos and throw up some sales on the board, but I want you guys to be expanding that capacity and continuing to get better as you guys continue on. So here's a couple of things that I would like everyone to take a quick second and post up. So let me have you guys do the following. I want to get some kind of just ideas and commitments here from everybody. And NLG, if you guys could help me with facilitating these things, but please post the following numbers. I'm going to ask for right now. What is your CPO goal for the SLC push? How many demos have you completed since the start of the push? And what's your phone jam goal tonight and your CPO goal for this upcoming week? Go ahead and everyone take a quick second. You can copy and paste that. I'll give everyone 45 seconds to a minute to go ahead and post that up into the TLA chat. And, hey, and by the way, just so you guys know, if you have a really crappy report, right, so far on what you've done, that's cool. Own it, make sure you get your stats up, post it, own what you have. And then the main thing is what you're going to do moving forward.
And how many days left do we have, Andrew?
We have, it's 20.
Lots of days, right?
Yeah, we have lots of days. We still have over 2 weeks left of this push, guys. There's the most is in front of you. I think it's 12, 13? No more.
12 days.
12 days. Cool.
12 days included. So it's starting tomorrow, not including the rest of today. So if you create a CPO today, like during phone orders or whatever, you have 12 more days ahead of you.
Yeah.
Could you make one of them a really awesome day?
Yeah. And while you guys are posting those up, to Mike's point, I'll give you guys a quick tip here. This is a good conversation echoing off of, I think, a combo I had with Isa Farinas in our office, who is taking full-time classes at Babson and is also running 7 interviews a week in her office right now, and is also trying to do demos. And it has other things on her plate as well outside of, Cutco at school. So, one quick tip that I was kind of giving her in terms of scheduling is hey, try to schedule things together. There's a certain, I remember I've been having some of this conversation with district managers. There's a certain capacity of hey, when you're in the zone, be in the zone and be present with what you're doing. So and sometimes it's good. Maybe you're in between classes, you rip off a couple phone calls, and book up some extra demos, and that can be good. And, a lot of times, maybe it looks like doing some random demos in between your schedule, but to Mike's point, is there a day where you can do a blitz day of demos? Is there a period? Okay, a class ends at 12 o'clock on Thursday. After that, I could just do demos, boom, 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 and book them up back to back to back to back. The same thing goes with schoolwork, right? Are you doing are you bouncing between Cutco and schoolwork and all this other stuff? Or can you do again, get in that flow state, get in focused hours of schoolwork? It's I got 3 hours. I'm just in the zone. I'm just working on this. Cutco does not matter right now. I'm in the zone with what I'm doing, and that's just a tip that I can give you guys too. A lot of you all know this, that outside of running the division, I have a couple other companies outside of this, so for me, when I want to do a podcast interview, I always tell my assistant, I'm hey, please try and schedule them back to back to back for me, because it's not helpful. When I run the interviews, I just want to be in the zone, and it's a lot easier for me to just run back to back to ones and save time when I'm in podcast interview mode. I show up better to the interviews. I'm more in the zone versus when I'm going from Cutco call, DM call, and then I'm trying to do a podcast interview, then I'm back to Cutco stuff. My mind's in 2 different places while I'm doing things, and I'm less present in my Cutco work. I'm less present in my interview when I'm doing it. And it's easier to kind of compartmentalize stuff. So just kind of a quick tidbit of hey, if you got stuff all over the place, well, maybe move extra schoolwork and do a schoolwork blitz day, and then do a Cutco demo blitz day, right? And can you kind of compartmentalize things like that too? At this point, there should be a whole bunch of posts. Mike, you wanted to add into that too?
You're what, 25, 27, 28 years old?
I'll be 25 on the Saturday.
Oh, 25. So you're celebrating your birthday with us?
I am. Tyler Tarmy asked me in the staff meeting. He said, he tried to make a bet. He said, if I hit this goal, can I come to your birthday party? And I said, you sure can. You're already invited. It's 10 to 2 on Saturday.
So I just want to make the point is I posed that question: what type of 25-year-old do you aspire to be? I mean, this is a guy who started at 17 years old, and he's just literally told you that you could do it for 3 to 4 months and grow, and you'll get good experience. Or if you choose to do this for several years, I mean, I know Andrew's modest. He won't talk about money, but the guy is making fucking lots of money. Like he's making lots of money. He's influencing a lot of people, not just Vector people. I mean, look at his podcast. I mean, last time I looked, there was over 600 5-star reviews. I mean, this is internationally around the world. If you have a message, you know, the guy created a platform. I don't even know if you know that he has like his own like men's, you know, watch like accessory company. Like he has a side hustle. He has this whole Forex company, foreign exchange, doing AI using artificial intelligence. He monetizes his coaching. He has clients. Plus he's a division manager and also runs his office. So it's like, what type of capacity are you developing? I'm an old dude, man. Like you look at me and you say, oh, Mike, you know, I'm 35. I'm on a different path. I was nowhere near as talented as Andrew. I was nowhere near as talented as all of you. I actually kind of sucked at this job for the first several years of my time working here. I just knew how to work hard. If you had my circumstances, I mean, y'all would have crushed the job. I mean, I just wasn't very good. I just had to work hard to get good. Some of you are already really good, but just lazy as dog shit. So it's like you have a guy who's not lazy and who's talented. What happens when you have work ethic and talent? You get Andrew Evans. That's awesome. So just a thought. So I love what Andrew said, the true experience versus the 3, 4, 5 month experience. And I know it's not about the money. And for some of you, it's not about lifestyle. For some of you, it's not about impact. But figure out what it is about for you. Because this is a great vehicle. This is not my life. This is my vehicle to do the things I want to do in my life. That's what Andrew's telling you here. This push is not about your life. It's about opening up opportunities for you to do the things you want to do in your life. Andrew just took time off, went to Connecticut, went to a wedding. I'm taking off, 5 days, go to a dude ranch. I'm going out next month to Austin, Texas for a boys weekend. I'm going out for a week for my wife and I's, 3-year anniversary to Greenbrier. One night, it's $400 a night. We're going to Greenbrier, play some golf, go get facials and stuff. It's going to be awesome. I took an 18-day trip in June, while running my business virtually, doing 80K weeks. I just relaunched my first book. I just did an event with clients that paid $1,000, $1,500 to learn from me. I fucking love my life. Andrew loves his life. We want you to love your life and not just do the job as an exchange for like recognition or prizes. That sucks. If you're doing this just because you want to see your name on a report and win some free shit, there's more. For this group, for the Leadership Academy of the Florida Coast Division, there's more. It's about who you're becoming. Are you winning the metagame? Are you winning the game today? Are you winning the small moments? Are you going to win this push? Are you going to win the phone jam tonight? And if you could just win those moments, tiny actions daily, you're going to crush. You're going to just crush the future because you're going to win each moment. So I don't know. You struck a chord there, Mr. Andrew Evans.
Hey, thanks, Mike, for chiming in there. I think you struck a chord here with me, so I'm glad you got a chance to chime in here. I think that was needed, and I think like the other thing too that I'll say, guys, is just two things that Mike I want to re-echo. Number one, like Mike's giving you guys, putting me on a pedestal. He's talked about his life, and like there's a lot of other people here. Like again, like utilize like that. I talk to my brother quite often, and my brother is 21 years old, and I've been watching him for years and years, and like one of the things that I kind of like I just feel for him because he has such a desire to improve, and it's just like we're in very different spots in life, and it's not because of like there's probably multiple other factors, but like I know that like I've been lucky and blessed to have mentorship at a young age. He's never had any of that. So outside of his friends, like I don't think he knows anybody, really outside of like that can coach him and guide him outside of my parents. And they haven't been that for him. So, I really don't, number one, I think when you have access to people like me and Mike and your district managers and other people that are even just a couple years ahead of maybe where you want to be, like really utilize that as your resources, because it's uncommon. A lot of corporate jobs, you go into there and they're great and you guys might love them, but like mentorship is just not something that's very, very common. So utilize that to your advantage. And second thing I'll tell you guys is that, like Mike also says, and a lot of people look at me today and like, oh, Andrew's very talented. And I think most of the things that people would label me as talented are things that I was never talented at. They're things that I worked really, really hard at. And I realized, hey, if I outwork people, I can have as good of results as maybe they have, since they're more talented than me. And one day, if I keep working harder than them, then I'll be more talented than they are in that category. And then I add my work ethic on top of that, I'll be unstoppable, And so like a lot of you guys know my Kako story and stuff like that too. But I was pretty much the bottom of the barrel TLA candidate going in. I barely scraped my way into TLA. I was not a top performer my first summer. It took me a month and a half to sell a set on the job. Like, again, most of y'all, like a lot of y'all, if you took a month and a half, you guys, some of y'all, if you would have took 3 more appointments, you would have quit, if you didn't sell your first set on it too. And it took me like literally almost 2 months before I was at like $3,000 in sales, but I learned and I worked at it too. So, and you guys have the exact same opportunity here. So as you're posting your SLC stats up here, I do want to announce too, we got some contests up for grabs. This is our contest from last week. We announced here, and we'll pick the winner tonight from last week's results. And tonight it's the same contest, but it gets easier to get into it. And we're throwing away, and they're a Homemaker plus 8 set as well. So if a Homemaker plus 8 set will be raffled off, or one of these if they've already got, for those of you guys that already have a ton of Cutco and are in need of that, you can have a selection of your prize. But a Homemaker plus 8 set's also up for grabs. All you have to do is book 7 demos. And I'll tell you what, guys, on your Wednesday phone jams, like 7 demos is a standard, like especially during a push. But 7 demos is a standard. Everyone should be shooting for double digits. Like 5 is the bare minimum to, like, in my opinion, even if you're a brand new rep, like if you don't have time to do 5 demos, then that's like 5 hours, worth of work. So you should find another job if you don't have 5 hours to contribute to your job, or not a job, because I don't think anyone will hire you. Alliance signups. Okay. Also, we have our Florida Coast Push Alliance meetings. Now, we've been running these meetings, and they've been awesome and exciting and invigorating for those of you guys that have hopped on. And what hasn't been awesome, exciting, and invigorating is that there's more new reps on those than there are anyone from TLA. So I really want to make sure that we're getting better attendance to these events moving forward. And we're running these specifically for you guys. So like, I'll tell you what, I'll speak on my behalf and Mike's behalf too, but like, if y'all don't want to come to these, we don't need to run them. But we're running them specifically for you. And I think for like our aspiring candidates out there, like you're in one of 2 boats. You don't know this information, so you should be there. Or boat number 2, you know this information, but you've never ran your own alliance meeting and you're planning on being a manager. So you should be there taking notes on how to run that alliance meeting. NLG, I actually sent you guys a message earlier. There's a couple of these meetings that I would like one of you all to run. So that's a good opportunity. And if you're in a spot where like, I don't feel confident running that, Andrew, then good, make sure you're at these meetings. So next time when I give that opportunity, you're in a spot where you do feel confident going to those and doing them. So I'm going to go ahead and send this into the group chat here real quickly before we dive into our topic here for the night. So if you look into the group chat, I want to get some signups. And here's my expectation. Some of you guys have classes on some of these time periods at 9 a.m. I doubt you have classes at 9 a.m. all these times, considering some of them are on Saturdays and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link here into the chat. And I'd like you guys to take 30 seconds to a minute real quick and go on to there and sign up for some times that you can officially commit to, or on any of these on the schedule here too. We've got about 5 or 6 more alliance meetings in front of us. And again, I would choose to get the most out of those. I'm always surprised when I take more notes on calls than some of our other people that are managers or that are aspiring managers, and the division managers taking more notes than they are. So get some value out of these calls. And I'll really tell you, like, if you're under 30K in sales, then like I promise you there's stuff that you don't know, that's being given out and delivered on these calls there too. So take it 30 seconds to a minute. I can see people filling it out right now. Go ahead and sign up for some times. And my last kind of comment before I dive into journaling here, just a review, again, of just the phases here. And I'll tell you right now, some of you all, like, you barely hopped on this call today. You're like, all right, Andrew, I'm feeling the D2 now. It's starting to settle in. Yep, I'm definitely in D2. I even talked to a couple of NLG people. It's like not even your first rodeo. And you're like, I had a conversation with someone yesterday. They're like second or third time going through TLA. And they're like, it's weird because like, I don't really feel like I could be in D2, but I kind of feel like I'm in D2. Like I just like lower commitment levels. And by the way, like I want to give you guys some confidence that that's pretty normal. That's pretty standard at this point in time in the year. And I think you guys just want to have awareness of that. And I think, again, going back to, really the steps to attack D2, it's focus on your circles of influence, focus on your planning, and revisit your whys. So we're going to talk about whys with journaling today. We've talked about planning, and then I think going to your circles of influence. So like, here's one thing too, is that like, if you're feeling discouraged and feeling nagged, just make sure you get your ass to TLA prep this weekend. That's my biggest recommendation is like, hey, what's it called? High emotion, low logic, right? So if you're highly emotional, you're usually using less logic. And that's when you make poor decisions. That can be poor business decisions. That can be poor relationship decisions when there's high emotions in relationships. That can be poor financial decisions when there's high emotions around your finances, or you think you're going to get rich quick, or you think you're about to lose money, or whatever it is. If there's high emotion around it, you usually make poor decisions there too. So, my first thing is just, hey, surround yourself with people that are going to give you some more clarity, confidence, and probably some more motivation. And just make sure that you're ready to rock and roll this weekend at TLA prep. So last week we talked about RPM, results, purpose, and then your MAP, or your massive action plan, and how to kind of like, this is, by the way, was like the basics of journaling. And hopefully the video that you guys watched this past week gave you guys a lot more insight from one of the legends in personal development, Jim Rohn. And I want to take a couple seconds. I know there's already some people that are excited to chime in on some of this stuff. And again, if you didn't watch that video, well, it's going to be pretty apparent when you don't really have anything to chime in. Or if you haven't filled out that form yet. But I want to go around the horn before we go into like the lesson for today, and take 10 minutes or so, or maybe a little bit less, but take some time to go ahead and debrief your biggest takeaways or light bulbs or anything that you kind of wanted to ask, even questions about from our Jim Rohn audio series. And I'm going to be sending out a supportive document here in a quick second. So love to open it up for whoever wants to come in first, takeaways or light bulbs from the Jim Rohn audio session. Yeah. Tyler, you can start us off, man.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that like really stood out to me was like choosing the right journal for you. I feel like I've had trouble with journaling. Maybe it was because I like didn't choose the right journal. Like I've tried out different journals and some of them worked better than others. I think like he went over like line spacing, like color, material, like how it feels, and then the size as well, like having it small. Like I've had so many big journals and I just don't do it because like I can't. Like I leave them at my house, and I'm like, oh, I should journal right now, but oh, my journal's at the house. So it's kind of like, that's really important. Next time I get a journal, like my journal right now is a good size, but next time I get a journal, I want it to be smaller so I can kind of fit it in my pocket. And I also like blue journals for some reason. It's
cool.
Yeah.
And I like that too. It's like, hey, you want it to have like, right, some sort of sentimental value, right, to you. Like I feel the same way. I had like multiple journals that just kind of sat there and never really got touched or used, and then like I got like I spent a little bit more money on a nicer journal, and now it's all like nice, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of like, you just kind of like having it around. It's like, oh, look at this, versus it's kind of like a nice water bottle. When you get like the nice expensive one, you like bring it everywhere, it's clean, versus like the trash water bottles, you just like forget about it, leave it at the gym, don't really like, shoot, whatever. But when you have that one water bottle, you pay like $40 for that, you like a lot, like you take that thing everywhere, you always clean it, you're like, don't let this get dirty, you're like more protective over it too. So good little tip there, Tyler. Who else wants to chime in on some takeaways here? We have, let's see, Jess and Logan.
Yeah, for me, it was revisiting, when he went over revisiting your entries. I took a ton of notes this summer. I followed everyone I could around and was like scripting convos and, writing down problems and solutions to them. But I never went back to like look at them again. And after listening to that audio, I flipped through my entire like branch journal that I started. And a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with this week, I was able to find like my own solutions, like learn from myself and my notes. And that was really powerful.
Oh yeah. I love that, Jess. And by the way, a couple of things that I want to hit on and Jess just mentioned. Number one, is Jess was an assistant manager this past summer. So one of the things, if you happen to be an assistant manager, or if you're an assistant manager right now, okay, I've got about, Julie, you'll appreciate this. There's about 15 or 20 of these sitting in my apartment right now that I'm supposed to get to our assistant managers this summer and they came in late. But I have all these like extra branch journals for our future assistant managers. And anytime that you're assistant manager, like it's like, hey, you're assistant manager to learn and set yourself up for future opportunities. So like, I mean, Rob Rodriguez, remember when he was in my office, like he literally every single time I was speaking to anyone, anywhere, he'd be like in the corner, just like look at me, taking notes, jotting down whatever he can and learning about that process. And the cool thing is two things that number one, just mentioned, like a lot of times when you get stuck, you don't need help. You don't need mentorship. You don't need guidance. You don't need a YouTube video or motivation. Like you already have the answers because you've been there before and you've pulled yourself out of it before. So it's like a lot of times going back and being able to reflect and look at that is helpful. Second thing that I think is really like cool is like once you start to get in the habit of doing this, like you always have that. And it's cool. Number one, like in a type of like legacy way, like literally, I remember Trent Booth said this one time in a conference, like imagine being able to give your kids like one day when you're older, like your journals from the past, like 10 years, and they can get an idea of like literally like the life, like let in on the life and your perspective like that. That'd be pretty cool. I think about legacy. Second thing I think about is later on in the year, we'll talk about this, but something I encourage all our district managers to do is something called our Q4 planning, or what I coined was our the ACE Weekly Best Year Ever blueprint, or how to have your best year ever, ACE 2020 blueprint. And that's an exercise that I went through this past year. And part of that exercise is taking a couple of days out of the schedule to reflect on the past year and have some vision and plan out some goals kind of for the upcoming year. And something that was really helpful for me this past year was being able to have like my planner and my journals and also my camera roll of literally like going back through, and I'll take like 2 days out of my schedule to go through, literally like relive all the moments and experiences that I've had for the past year and kind of like just take notes on like the highs and what created those highs, and also like the lows and what created the lows, who was with me, who was around, and like to kind of orient myself of like, hey, make sure that like your takeaways from the year, the lessons from the year, are actually like takeaways and lessons from the year, not just like things that you're like, oh, that was a lesson. Yeah. And then you do make the same mistakes again next year. And you can actually be like, all right, cool. I'm not going to do this again. I've got to make sure I do this again next year. That really helped me a lot. So I love that you're chiming in there with that, Jess. That's a great update and share. We have a couple other people I want to share. Let me call on, let's see, Rochelle, you want to chime in?
Definitely. I thought one thing, going off of like what you just said, like one thing that stood out to me, I've been journaling for, I think I started in January. So it's like now I have more awareness on like how to use it entirely to my advantage. So like making note of like when, where you are, who you're with. That way you can like kind of like take note on like the energy that you get from that to like use that in the future. And I thought it was really cool. Just like anything that you practice, like your thoughts and your questions that you're asking in your journal, they'll get better over time. So kind of just like a compounding effect. I thought that was really interesting. And it's like, if I was feeling like I wasn't asking myself the right questions, at least I'm aware and now I can like start to guide them. And then that would really change like the trajectory. And then the last thing that really stood out to me was like the idea that when you're journaling, you're kind of like talking to yourself before you're going out and projecting that onto anybody else. So then you're totally aware, like, okay, this is the energy that I'm responsible to bringing into the world, and you can feel like comfortable and confident with it.
Yeah, one of the, I think, most important things, the values of journaling is sometimes just like, even if it doesn't, even if nothing, like you don't even really feel like anything comes about your journaling, like sometimes just getting all like, there's value in meditation, there's value in visualization, there's value in journaling, because a lot of you all on this call, especially including myself, have like very fast, rapid minds, or you've been diagnosed with like ADHD or something like that. And I've been told you have trouble focusing and you have all these thoughts going on 24/7. And a lot of times, like just getting those out and onto paper or onto something, like all of a sudden there's just not as many thoughts because you've actually voiced the thoughts, versus when you just keep them trapped in here, they never go anywhere else. They just kind of stay in there. And then sometimes, a lot of times, like even just emotions, you scribble it onto paper and like you could literally be like all emotional, be like, F this, blah, 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 just write it all out. And then you're like, all right, I feel better now, whatever. You're releasing it from your system rather than like trapping it here and just trying to like hope it goes away, which it never does. Cool. Thanks, Rochelle, for chiming in. Let me get Gabriel. You want to chime in here? And I'll call in, then we'll go Audrey and Amanda. We'll wrap up.
Well, yeah, about what Jess said about like revisiting your journal, not only is it really good like to do everything she said, but I think that one thing that's really good also, like after a while, you just revisit those moments, see like who you were at the time, and then you compare yourself to who you are now, like, and you see the progress. That's like a good source of motivation to, just keep going and keep like improving yourself and just keep doing what you're doing to just get better. And I think also one important thing that Jim Rohn said during the audio is that like when you write, you really have to analyze what you're writing, because that's really gonna show you like the clear picture of what's happening, and like that's kind of gonna teach you how to like form your thought process for when you maybe don't have your journal. Like you're gonna probably analyze your thoughts and just try to act more logically and clearly with what you have like in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love what you said, Gabriel, too, about just being able to like. A lot of times it's just for appreciation, being able to go back and see like, oh shoot, like, cause like, the most critical person is yourself. People are a lot harder on themselves than they are on other people, like just in general, everyone has thoughts in their head that's like, they kind of, and by the way, the successful people that you look up to, they still have these thoughts of like, I'm not good at this. I'm a phony. I'm an imposter. No one's going to listen to me, blah, blah, blah. Like even like the people that you look up to the most, they still have those thoughts, by the way. There's like a saying like, that I talked to someone about the other day. That's like, you say things to yourself that like if other people said those things to you or like someone in your family, like you'd knock them out. You'd be like, what the hell you just say? Like, but you don't have any problem saying them to yourself all day. So, and I know that's true too. So like a lot of times it's just like looking back and being like, all right, like I've come a long way. Like I might not be in the best spot right now, but remember I was in that like shitty spot and I pulled myself out of that one and I'm good now. I feel a lot better now too. So it can be just gratitude and appreciation. Last two, I'll call on Amanda and we'll go to Audrey. And then I'll go back to Mike because Mike's probably the most expert journaler here out of anyone on this call. So I'll see if he has any additional thoughts for us. Amanda?
Yeah, so you guys are about to hear the passion. You guys have no idea how much journaling has just like changed my entire life. I have 5 different journals, no exaggeration. One is for kind of like emotional snapshots. Another one is for like my big 3 outcomes that I want. So something that was really good that I re-listened to is like figuring out your top 3 results that you want to get done today, alongside of 3 purposes and why they're important, as well as some action steps. And you can like check it off for those of you who really like lists. But also I have a meditation journal where I just write. I call it like my free write, and I just allow thoughts to just flow straight from my subconscious. Like I don't even think, it's just like word vomit, and then I'll reread it, and it kind of connects me to some of my best ideas, as well as I keep a dream journal and stuff like that. But guys, when you get better at like describing your life to yourself, you'll find that you're going to become much, much better at describing yourself to life, if that makes sense. And you're going to get better at saying what you really want and what you feel to yourself and others. And you're going to be able to also convey yourself better to others, and in return also understand others better and what they're actually saying to you. So journaling is just hands down the biggest life changer. Everything I have written down has like come true. It is literal manifestation when you put it from your thoughts onto paper. And I think it's so, so important. I know we talked about takeaways, but it is so crucial to be journaling, especially in this business, because you will just kind of watch all your thoughts come true from paper.
I love that. Spoken like from a true champion here too. That's utilized it and done it before here too. And by the way, you might not need to start off with 5 journals. Might need to start with 1, but I think just starting the process too. And like, I like another thing too, before I hop over to Audrey, like, I'll tell you what, the first couple of times I journaled, like, it didn't go great. I was like, sat down there for like 5 minutes and was like, what the hell do I write? Like, where do I even start? I'm just going to write stuff tier 2. And, I'll give you guys some feedback, and I'm going to give you a couple tips on kind of a format that you can use to kind of get going with that and start that process here. Audrey?
Yeah, so I've been kind of stubborn and like telling myself, nah, I don't need a journal. I had this conversation with Amanda the other day. It's like, journaling's not for me. It's not my thing. But I always tell myself, like, I love learning and growing. And Jim Rohn, he just reminded me, like, keeping a journal, it's a valuable part to your learning. And another thing that I like that he said is, you know, he looked at his price tag on the journal. It was like $26, right? And what's inside a journal is worth way more than $26. So that just resonated with me.
Awesome. Thanks, Audrey, for chiming in and sharing. Mike, did you have anything else to add? I love the photo that Mike just shared. I'm assuming that's when you first started journaling, Mike, back in 2011. And I, by the way, when I came into the business, I didn't journal that much originally. And I remember, like, honestly, one of the big people I took things away from was Mike at the time. You know, it was really impressive to see, like, just his consistency in journaling every single morning, the way he would plan out his days with his journaling, the way he would impact and plan out his alliance meetings and bring presence to that. Was always really, really impressive to see what Mike was doing there too. So Mike, from the veteran, do you have any extra thoughts on journaling before I give him a couple quick tips here?
Yeah, very, very quick. My first journal, I didn't want to take a photo of it. It's quite personal, but my very, very first journal entry was 2006 when my mom passed. And that was this journal. And a counselor at my college at USF is who introduced me to the concept of journaling, just to capture emotions. And that was my first journal entry, and on November 4, 2006. Then journaling was brought to me more in TLA as a personal growth strategy back in 2011. That's when I did that first journal entry that I took a screenshot of. That's my very first journal entry, and I have, you know, I'm not here. I guess it really doesn't matter that much, but the thing about journals is these are my most prized possessions. This bookcase over here, those are my journals. So I have journals. I've kept every one of them. They're so important to me. I would cherish my journals over any other possession that I have in my house, really, because they're just all the snapshots of my own life, of my emotions, of all the progress, everything that I've accomplished and who I've become. Reading back to some of those early stages, like 9 years ago when I really started journaling, and just seeing those snapshot of those emotions and now revisiting them, it's like, wow, it has been a journey. It has been, you know, quite interesting. And so I put in the chat box. I encourage you to read some of the things I put. Journaling is answering questions. So all you do is write a question. My favorite one, I just did this. I actually just did it today. 9:23. I woke up this morning and did my 9:23. How do I feel right now? Why do I feel that way? How do I want to feel? What actions can I take to get there? I literally just answered those questions. That was it. And then all of a sudden, that triggered another page and a half of, I know you can't see, but with the background up, but that triggered a page and a half of things which put me into momentum, which allowed me to find gratitude, which allowed me to find structure, which allowed me to just go into the creative space. And it just created momentum, which is important. And some of you got on the receiving end of that momentum of, you know, just gratitude and reflection and observations. And if I didn't sit down and just answer a few questions in my journal, I could have potentially compromised, not the relationship, but like a part of a relationship of someone that's important to me if I didn't take the time to reflect and become aware. So that would be my cliff notes. That's the short version. The long version, I love journaling so much that I created my own journal. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a product Grab Tomorrow has. Grab Tomorrow has a Grab Your Thoughts journal. That is because people were asking me, like Andrew said, he's just like, you know, I was the guy for journaling. And so I went and created my own journal called Grab Your Thoughts, a guided journal to capture moments. So I literally went and took my top 50 questions, 60 questions that I would ask myself and just put it into a guided journal, made thoughts from me. 5 things daily are in this journal. It's like 20-something bucks on Amazon. You can feel free to pick it up if you're interested, but that's how passionate I became about journaling. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike, for doing that. And then we'll probably share a link to the chat too for anyone at that. If you want to make that the journal that you want to get and you haven't gotten one yet too, there's an easy opportunity there as well. So here's one thing that I'll teach you guys just to kind of tie a bow on this, okay? And this is going to come into some manager skill set stuff, is something called Big Three. And I'd probably write this down. It's Big Three daily. And this is something I remember I interviewed the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, which is a great interview. If you want to go check that out. For those of you guys that don't know, Berkshire Hathaway is one of the largest, it's Warren Buffett's company. So it wasn't Warren Buffett, it was the CEO of their real estate organization, but one of the largest real estate conglomerates in the United States. And it's funny, he's telling me something that he does with his people, and like what he focuses on is like, hey, he's like, we have this thing called Big Three. And I was like, nice. And I remember as he was explaining it to me, because that's something that we do pretty consistently in our division. And he one of the first things he said to me on the interview, he's like, yeah, well, I tell people like, hey, what are the three things you're going to focus on? Like, if everything, like, what are the three things that, like, okay, cool. If I get these three things done today, today's gonna be a good day. Today's gonna be a successful day. He's like, hey, by the way, if you have more than like three priorities, then you actually have none. Right? It's like, hey, if there's more than three, it's like, then you don't actually have any. And that's the thing too. It's easy sometimes for you to have that list of 20 things, but it's like, especially as managers, I'll tell you guys right this, when you become if you become a branch or district, there's literally 5,000 things you could do every single day, all day long. There's so much shit to do all the time. And it's very, very easy to feel like I'm working all the time. Like, you guys even know that as Cutco sales reps, right? There's like the things that you could be doing, which is like, I could be organizing my leads, going and doing this, talking to, like, there's a million things that you could do that are technically work activities, but it's like, but what are the activities that are actually going to move the needle on your results, right? And like, that's the things. It's like, okay, cool. Probably making phone calls, like that actually moves the needle on your results. Like doing something that's actively getting you more names and numbers. Maybe it's working on your skill set, whatever. But there's always a lot of things. And even in school, like, so the exercise, really the simplistic version, I'm going to go ahead and send the document to support with this, that we'll have a quick break down on just kind of direction for it. But it's just come up with your Big Three daily. And I'm going to actually challenge some of you guys to kind of participate in this activity. If you want to start sending me your Big Three daily, and I can send you a couple thoughts. I do this with managers during the summer. I have them send me, hey, the big three things, like, what are your big three for the day? And they send them to me before 8 a.m. and I get to give them some feedback before we kick off into the day. And by the way, usually your big three start off pretty crappy. Because it's like, I'll give you some perspective on like, hey, how to iron out what the big three actually are. Because you want to do things that are specific, not like, okay, like get better at blank, sell more Cutco today, and do better in school. It's like, that's very, very unspecific. It's like, no, what are like the three things that you could check off the box at the end of the day? Boom, I did this. Today was a good day. Even if I didn't get to the other stuff, I made a move here. I impacted this. I got this result accomplished, and I got this result accomplished. And it's very, very easy, especially if you're stressed, to like really compartmentalize, to Mike's point, even if you're doing that journaling exercise of like, cool, what are the actions that I need to take? Like, what's the big three things that I can do today to get what I want right now? Because it's very, very easy to like work all day long and be like, what did I even do today? What even actually got done today? I still feel like I didn't really get the stuff done that I wanted to get done. And what I'll send to you guys is this document. I'm going to go ahead and forward it into the group chat. But a really, really easy way to just map out your journaling is just, when you journal, it's cool. What happened? How did I fail? How I responded? What did I learn? I always do a gratitude journal. Like, hey, what am I grateful for? A lot of you guys know we do the what's hot, what you appreciate, starting off from a place of gratitude. Best version of myself, or BVOY or BVOM. That's a quick chance to evaluate like your areas of opportunity and like, are you becoming the best version of yourself? What are your big three for the day? And then I always evaluate, who am I COI? Like, part of the journaling exercise is like, I literally write down who my circles of influence are. 3 people I'm teaching for, 3 people I'm learning with, 3 people I'm learning from, and just kind of evaluate it. That way, you give energy to people in spaces. Like, I had certain spaces that were blank for years. And I was intentional about, cool, I have 2 really good people that are right now, and I need a good third one that's outside of Cutco. Like, I'm searching for someone actively. And just bringing attention to these things. And maybe you don't do all these things every single day. This is an hour. I want to challenge you to start off with like 10 to 15 minutes. Can you ask yourself 3 or 4 questions, and can you have like your big 3 for the day, which I think is just a Florida Coast best practice here too. So I'm going to send this document. We can review a little bit more. We are tight on time, so we're going to have to wrap things up. Lucky for you all, we're going to have to skip the fishbowl scenario here for today because there's so much goods. But I appreciate you guys for diving in here and getting the most out of the meeting. And let's just make sure that we're ready to rock and roll and have an awesome TLA prep this upcoming Saturday here, and NLG session on Friday morning too. Last thought, by the way, for NLG, if you don't have like class or something like that, NLG, I would plan on 10 to 1 p.m. I'm not going to go over 12 o'clock, but I will give you guys an assignment that we're going to start during NLG, and you'll have a week to finish it. But my recommendation is like you're already going to be in the flow of doing it. So like just carve out an extra 30 minutes to an hour to just like do it then. That way you're just done. After that NLG session, you can kind of come out of that NLG session with some results there too. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our veteran leader in our division, Micah Bromless, to help us kick off our Wednesday night phone jam.